Hello, my name's Slipper. Welcome to my garage.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen. We're back. That's right. I do apologize because it's been a little while since the last video. You know, after Super Shoe, which if you didn't get a chance to watch it, the last video was our Super Shoe video. Highly recommend you check it out. Super Shoe lived up to the hype. It threw us a couple of unexpected curveballs. I even got to wheel a race car. So if you didn't get to see it, go check it out, comment, tell me what you think. But anyways, after Super Shoe, this the old girl here kind of got put on the rear back upper shelf burner thing back there. And, well, it got neglected. Let's be honest. It got shoved off to the side. I spent a lot of time working on a lot of the house projects, the honey-do list, which, believe me, guys, that's important. You can't just focus on the race cars. You got to take care of all the other stuff too. And in addition to that, I spent a fair amount of time and, well, let's be honest, probably a late model motor's worth of money on this whole wedding thing. I guess that's important too. But anyways, after Super Shoe, this got put off to the side, but we're back. And we're picking up where we left off. Last time I was out here, I was tinkering around, starting to work on the rear windshield on the car because the old windshield wasn't really doing the windshieldy. You couldn't see through it. So we got a new one we're putting together, just like the interior tin on the car. Do the cardboard template here. Cut that to shape. Transferred it over to my 1/4 inch Lexan and then had to radius and bend my mounting points on here, which if you're wondering how I managed to bend all the way along this radius, well, old school. 4 out of 10. Do not recommend. But it's done. We'll get that mocked up. We're not going to mount it up just yet. The reason for that being is the next thing we're going to do on this car is the graphics, vinyl. And I plan on running vinyl right in where the windshield and the rear windshield are at. So we're going to pull these back off. I got to polish up the front windshield. The roof's coming off, and that's actually going to get hand lettered just to kind of keep with the cool look of it, because it's got this multi-layered look from sanding it and trying to smooth it out. I love the way it looks. We're going to keep that. Hand letter the roof on this car. I'll show you that later. But first, we're going to do vinyl, and I'm excited about that because vinyl, unlike the rest of this car, I actually know something about. I've done vinyl. Back in the day, I actually owned my own vinyl business. It was called My Sticker Dude. The reason for that was I always thought it'd be great if someone came up to one of my clients and went, "Hey, who did your race car?" "My Sticker Dude." "Yeah, who's that?" "My Sticker Dude." Which that actually works. But anyways, had My Sticker Dude, lettered a bunch of different race cars and stuff, so I know a little bit about it. Now, this is, and it's weird to say this, but this is going to be what's now considered old school, which back when I did it was still maybe not new school, but just the school. And it's not the digital print setup. It's the solid colored, layered setup. I don't have a digital printer, so we're going to show you the, I guess the old school way of doing it. We're going to do the Cliff Notes version. Don't worry, I'm not going to bore you with a whole bunch of technical stuff, but I am going to walk you through the process, give you a little bit of knowledge about kind of what goes on behind the scenes, and we're going to dress this old girl up. Let's check it out. I got the old wood stove Making things all nice and toasty in here. As you can see, I got the computation device set up. This is one of them nifty tablets that's got the keyboard attached to it. And instead of a pesky touchscreen where you're going to constantly fat finger everything, I've got this very precise human interface device called a mouse attached to it. Now, this particular unit is loaded with the latest and greatest Windows 98 program. So we are rocking. All right, we're going to get the little screen grab thing going here. There we go. Now, I design with CorelDRAW. You can use whatever programming you want. When I start my drawings or my design work, I like to use a nice side profile picture of whatever I'm designing on. In this case, it's obviously the late model. So we'll get that up here. Wow. We have come a long ways. Anywho, all right, first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take a measurement on a part of the vehicle that's easy to measure, and I've already checked out beforehand. With this case, it'd be like the side panel here of the late model. And I'm going to blow up this picture to accurate scale. So that way I know whatever I design is going to be pretty close to fitting. I'm still going to double check my measurements at the end. But this way I've got a really accurate representation of what the design is going to look like before I cut anything. Once I get it blown up, I'm going to trace an outline around the vehicle, which I've already done. And you can see that right there. What's really cool is once you do that, you can even change the color of the vehicle. So whatever you want. Now we're going to try to match it up to the existing blue here. Now I got a lot of this already set up, so this is just kind of demonstration purposes, but once I have this outline done, what I can do is take a graphic or design that I've come up with and load it inside that outline. And once it's loaded, I can go and edit the contents of the outline, and then that's where I can do all of my sizing and alignment and everything, and just kind of get it however I want. I can even change the coloring of this graphic. So we'll just go like that. Ooh, I don't like that. We'll try that again. Let's go with something that pops a little more. There we go. Exit out there. And as you can see, because it's only inside the outline, it automatically trims it to follow the body. And I get a pretty rough idea of how it's going to look. I'm going to walk you through designing. Well, let's design numbers now. So this is the basic font of my number, F17. What I'm going to do next is I'm going to add the bevel to it. This is actually already set up in this particular font. So just go like that. Boom. Now I got my bevel. There's other ways to create your bevels. In this instance, I already had it set up, so we can just work off of that. Now I'm going to start doing my outlines. And we're going to add let's go 3/8 inch outline. Break that apart. Make it a nice black outline. That's not thick enough. Let's go 1/2 inch. I like really thick outlines. It helps your numbers pop and stand out more. So there we go. So if I went 1/2 inch outline, and then let's do that 3/8 now. 375. And we're going to do yellow, and then we'll follow that up with another 1/2 inch outline. Like so. Now what I did is I just created this yellow stripe around the number. Now, the way I do vinyl, because it's not a digital print, everything has to be layered. So you're going to have to think about that when you do your design work. For example, I don't want to have to go black. We'll do it this way. We'll take and So I don't want to have to do this black layer first and then do the yellow and then do another black layer, and then I can do my colors for the number. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to take this layer right here and trim this from my existing. So that way, once I delete this out of the way, oops, not that, delete this. Remember me talking about how precise this human interface device was? It's wonderful. Now I can double check and make sure I have, in fact, just this stripe. If I move this up out of the way, as you can see, everything shows through. Put that back. So that's the basics of making a design like this. So this will be, when I apply it, reverse order. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to, again, we'll do it like this. Cooperate. Best laid plans. There we go. So the first layer I'm going to put down is going to be my black on it. Once I do that, then I'm going to put this yellow outline on. And then from there, I'll apply my solid gray and finish it up with what's going to be my white. I usually have my whites just a little off colored, so that way if I move this graphic off to the side, I can still see it. But yeah, that's the basics of the number. From there, I'll create a plot file, which means I break this design up into its different colors. So all of my whites, which will make that so it can be seen. All of my grays go in a line here. And then we'll put all my yellows here, leaving only my blacks. And then from there, I'll send it to my plot machine. Now, the way the cutter works is it goes on outlines. So this is all that gets sent to my cutter. And it's going to follow this outline right here, and then it's up to me to sort out and pull out all the vinyl that I don't need. This is my cut program. This is what I have to use to interact with my plotter. And as you can see right here, I've imported the body graphic you've seen us monkeying around with earlier. I broke it into 3 parts just to make it a little more manageable because this was going to be over 7 foot long, wouldn't fit on my table. And this one right here, you can see I already switched over to an outline mode. The way that this works is the cutter is actually going to follow this little outline, and it's an XYZ axis, so it's going to go, you know, up and down, left and right, and then the Z is actually the blade forcing itself onto the material to cut this out. So we'll select this, and then we'll go to send a cutter. So I've got the cutter set up already. As you can see, it's got a little feed roller right along here. You can see the underside of it right there, these little pinch bars. We're going to give it traction. This is going to allow the vinyl to feed in and out. And then my cutter here is going to go to the left and right. And this little blade here is going to do the up and downy thingy and start cutting. Let's see if I can get in there. You can almost see there's an itty bitty, oh, that's just a finger. But there's a tiny little razor blade right in there. That's what's actually going to cut the vinyl to our shape. So once I click print, it should go. It didn't. And there it goes. All right, now that we have the piece cut, got it set here out on my layout table, what I'm going to do is tape the corners down quick. So, and when you tape it down, you want to make sure you don't have any wavy, bubbly, wrinkly type things going on. It's laying nice and flat, because if you do have some waves, when it comes time to mask it, they're going to transfer into the piece and onto the whatever you're applying it to, and you're going to end up with a wrinkle, and it's not going to look good. Now that I got it taped down, we'll take and you want to cut through the vinyl, but not through the backing paper, that wax backing paper behind the vinyl. Just cut kind of a relief cut So that way you're not peeling up your masking tape that you got taped down. And then this part's called weeding. And it's weeding away or removing all of the unnecessary vinyl that we no longer need for the design. And it can get tricky. I'm putting a lot of faith that this cut right, because normally what you could do is, instead of yanking this whole big piece off, is you can cut into sections. You can't see it in the video, but looking at it in person, you can actually see the outlines of where it cut and kind of have an idea of what pieces are supposed to stay and go. If you ever have a big, really involved design and you're not sure what pieces you're supposed to remove, what pieces are supposed to stay, get that out of here. Simple rule to go by, every other line. All right, that line stays, next line goes. That line stays, next line goes. So usually that'll at least get you in the ballpark and set you up for at least one or two mistakes. So take the rest of the vinyl out. This is the full design right here. So this would be the front going back. And I'm actually going to have a little bit of overlap right here. Again, I split this design apart. Two reasons. One, my table's only so big. Two, it makes it just easier to manage. I'm getting old, and fighting these big 72-inch long pieces or 80-inch long pieces just doesn't sound like fun. And you can't see it real well from way up there, but right here I got this little cross type thingy that I put into the design. That's just a little reference point for later when I go to line up my next piece. I'll line up my little crosses and I know my spacing's good. So with that, all the excess vinyl removed from that, we'll mask it. You got a 24-inch roll of masking tape or transfer tape. And what this does is it holds all these little pieces together, so when you peel the backing paper away, they don't flop around, and it just keeps its shape. Now, this isn't as critical as far as getting it on without any wrinkles and stuff, but you want to try to keep a nice smooth application. Any wrinkles that you do get in the mask could potentially transfer to your design. So yeah, and you can do this a couple different ways. I've seen guys that have setups where they hold the mask off to the side of the table and they just pull it across, and I'm not that ambitious, and you know, it costs money. So I'll lay this right across here, get a good start, and then just apply it down. I've also been doing this for a little while, so I'm actually using the roll to hold the mask up off of the vinyl, and then using my squeegee to apply the masking tape to it, angling it so it pushes any air bubbles, wrinkles, and other things that I don't want in there out, away from the application. And I'll show you. See, squeegee's angled this way, so as I apply, it pushes stuff that way. And we'll finish it up. All right, so I've got it sitting on here. I got these little sticky masking tape things. Basically, all I did is pull off a piece of mask, fold the end over on itself, so I got a non-sticky end right there. So I pull it off. And I got another one up here because normally I'd have them opposite ends, but there's nothing to stick to right there. So, and you can't see it, but I marked where the rocker panels laid out on the body. And then I'm going to mount or apply my vinyl just below where that rocker panel line is. I'm not too worried about covering up right in here because this is all going to get covered, but I do want it to be just slightly an 1/8 inch or so below where the rocker panels mount, so it gives it a nice seamless look. I got it lined up roughly where I want it. So you can see already how this is going to continue back. Right here's that little cross piece that I mentioned to line up my next piece. And then there's a lot of different ways you can do this, and it's going to depend on the way the body's shaped, if you got any different bends or curves or whatnot to go through. And what I like to do is I will create a tape hinge. So I'll tape one corner, or one side I should say, tape it down solid. And then when I peel this away, let me grab my squeegee. This is going to be backwards for me. That's fine. No, it's not. So instead, I'm going to do it, we're going to go right here. Now, the important thing is when you put your tape down, whether it's on the end or here or wherever, you want it to be smooth and flat. You don't want it to wrinkle up or wad up anywhere, because that means this thing's going to shift and move. Or if it's wrinkled up here where you put the tape, you're starting off with a wrinkle and you're never going to get it out of the vinyl. So with that being done, I'll take my little tape tab off, peel this back, and I'm going to peel the backing paper away from the vinyl. The vinyl should stay with the mask, and it does. Well, now what? I got all this in the way. So I'll take this corner and I'll fold it over a little bit just so it holds it in place, and it didn't. Of course. There we go. Like so. And I'm just gonna make a nice straight cut. Voila. Here we go. And again, just like with the masking tape, I wanna angle my squeegee so that it pushes any air bubbles and wrinkles away from where I'm applying. I'm going to start over here where there's backing paper and then work into the part that I'm applying. Of course, I immediately have a pop rivet right there. Got to be careful with those because you can immediately have a wrinkle. Best advice I can have is when you're applying, just go right over them like they're not even there. Try to keep it nice and smooth and don't let it wrinkle up around them. So, managed to do that somewhat decent, and we'll just apply this all the way across. Again, working any air bubbles and wrinkles away from the vinyl as you're applying. Another pop rivet right there. We'll just zip right over it. There we go. And we'll take this off, immediately tear that because, well, I think this transfer paper is probably about 5 years old. So that's good. That's fine. A little bit of mask right there. And we'll flip around and come at it from the other way. Like so. And this is going to create what I like to call a low light. You got highlights and low lights. Highlights to me are the brighter colors. Then your base color. Low lights are the opposite. They're the darker colors. So this is a low light background vinyl, body graphic. It's going to continue on down the side. And then I'm going to have the rest of the graphics on top of it. And I'm not going to show you what all that is until we're done because, well, where's the fun in that? So we're going to move on now and show you how we layer. So we got the gray peeled off. And you might notice I got this little cross right here. There was supposed to be a square right about in here where this big blank area is. I didn't catch it and I peeled it off when I peeled all the rest of the waste vinyl off. The reason I put those on is they're reference points. So that way when I put my next layer down, which this is the white, and the vinyl I use uses a blue backing paper behind the white so you can actually see the design. So that's awesome. But you can use those to line everything up. As you can probably see, there's the square that the gray was supposed to have. So now I gotta do this a little differently, but we'll get there. So this corner I can take and using that flip book effect, I don't know if this is transferring across to the TV or not, but hopefully you can see. And it's giving me a peek at the design underneath. And again, we're going to make our little tape tabs. And this is roughly where I want it to be. Now, stay. I don't have a square over here, so there's two ways I can do this. I can use the actual design underneath, or if I cut my head just right, I can kind of see the indentation in the wax paper in here of that square. And that's what I'm going to work off of. So it looks like it's got to go this way. Just a skosh. And again, squeegee angling away. And we'll apply down. Now, I don't know if you can see it on the camera. I'm trying to show you. The vinyl actually stuck to the backing paper right here instead of coming with. So I'm going to flip this back over. We'll peel the backing paper back, and right there, right where I see it starting to peel up, I'll just use a little X-Acto knife and kind of encourage it to lay back down there. And again, that's another one of those moments where you got to be careful because it's really easy to put a wrinkle in your vinyl before you even applied it. We'll just wind this up until we got a couple inches left on the end. That way I still got a nice little handle, and continue on with our application. So there's the first layering of our number. We're going to go through, put the rest of them together, get this car cleaned up, and yeah, let's start getting some vinyl put on.
So some of you might remember, this is the deck lid off of the original late model. I wanted to keep this as part of the whole new late model thing because of all these little names that I wrote on here. These are all people that kind of helped out at Super Shoe after we wrecked it and put the car back together so we could wreck it again. So unfortunately, to keep all of this, it means I have to trim out around all the existing lettering. Kinda like so. And oh, that's out of date. We'll have to fix that. So let's see here. There we go. We'll doing this wrong-handed. There we go.
We have decals on the car. Don't have the sponsor decals on just yet. Still working out, finalizing details with those, hoping for a couple more to jump on board before the beginning of the season. Got the rear windshield you saw me working on earlier, or at least I touched base on it earlier, temporarily on. Roof, front windshield, those are temporarily on, held on with Clecos. Reason for that is we are going to hand letter the number on the roof. Actually, my fiance, soon to be wife, Amanda, she's going to do that, which I think adds a really cool little personal touch to it. So kind of excited to see how that turns out. Plus, this way I can still get down in the idiots compartment there and work on things as needed, some of the ignition system and stuff. Now, before we get to the point where we do the grand, big unveiling thing, a little bit of confusion when it comes to we're budget racing. You know, this is on a budget, a very small budget, especially when compared to some of the other teams we're racing against. Now, if I were to take and compare this to an entry-level front-wheel drive car, big budget. So it's kind of relative. But to give you folks an idea of just what this is all entailing, I'm going to do something that, probably goes against my better judgment. I'm going to keep a running tally to show you folks just how much money I am hemorrhaging on this thing. And I mean, it's arterial bleed status. We're going to have at the end of each episode a updated tally showing our expenses year to date. This isn't going to include any tools. This is strictly stuff for the race car. As you can see, we got it up so far. Got body mounts on there, had $100 on them, $249 in vinyl. That's actually kind of on the cheap side. I ended up buying out an old vinyl business and got a lot of really discounted vinyl. Then I kind of screwed up and bought really expensive Lexan from All Star, $250 there. I thought I was going to use it on the front, ended up using it on the back, but it is what it is at this point. So total so far is $599. And I haven't touched anything on the drivetrain. Some of you folks might remember the last video that featured the late model. We couldn't get the engine to run. What you didn't see is I did get it to fire up, but it definitely was not happy at all. Ran a compression test on it. All of the cylinders way down. One of them was down, I wanted to say it was like 60 something PSI, which is horrible numbers. Everything else was right around that 100 PSI mark, which is still really, really low. I took a bore scope, looked inside the cylinders. One of the cylinder walls really scuffed up, chewed up real bad. So something just not happy in the engine on this thing. So we still have to pull that out, go through the bottom end on it. I know I just went and looked at the bearings trying to get it together last year, but you know, we got to do what we got to do. I may have a temporary solution for the engine compartment here, but still working out the details on that. It's, let's just say it's nothing spectacular, but it'll get us on the track and at least get us turning laps. So I guess now it's that moment. All that work putting vinyl on this car. Let's see what she looks like. I hope you guys like it. You know, let me know what you think. Comment down in the comment section, down where you comment in the comments. Tell me what you think. Like it, love it, hate it. I'm stoked though. I'm geeked. So with that being said, here it is.
This thing is like one of those episodes of If They Made It, featuring Francis Scott Key and a bald eagle. I love it. This is, to me, one of the coolest paint schemes I've put together, and it's on a freaking late model. How cool is that? Well, folks, that's going to be all for this episode. Hope you enjoyed it. Kind of gave you a quick behind-the-scenes look at what all goes into some of these vinyl jobs. If you'd like more information, like to see a little more in-depth one, let me know. Comment down below. Love to hear from you. Check out our Facebook page for some of the latest updates, even more updated than these videos. Next episode, we're going to be diving into the front end of this car. We got to get the old engine out, start figuring out what we're going to do as far as horsepower, something to pull this thing around the racetrack, because the season's coming up really quick. Really excited about the schedule. We'll go over that on the next episode. Man, I am so stoked about this car. I can't wait. If we're half as fast as this thing looks, we're going to do all right. But thanks for tuning in. Until next time, my name's Flipper. Thanks for stopping by.